Hey folks, this is Max from Woodsman's Finest. Thanks for tuning in for another pro tip today in my Spoon Carving 101 series. Welcome to my spoon dungeon, where I'm just working on a big batch of my kayak spoons. I have actually 15 of these in an 85% stage, and I'm just doing the finishing cuts on these. Sorry for the noise. Urban Japan, as you probably know by now, this is a good location for me light-wise to film, but I just have the noise of urban Japan here all the time, folks. No matter where I'm going, there's either somebody renovating a house, there's kids running around, or there's just cars driving by. So I hope this is not too disturbing. What I want to share with you today is the way I like to strop, or the product that I like to strop my knives with pretty much all the time I know. Now, you see, wherever you go, different continents, different countries, it seems that there's usually some type of code when it comes to stropping compounds. Stropping is something that I do more than sharpening and honing. I gotta be honest with you. I hone my knives pretty much twice per spoon, just in order to achieve this very, very crisp and beautiful surface. Keeping your knives sharp means that the surface of your spoon is gonna be somewhat burnished nearly, and just gives you this very, very sturdy and comfortable surface. So don't take sharpening lightly, and don't think that stropping is something that convexes your knives too much or something. If it's done properly, stropping is really the way to go. Now, over the time me living in Canada, Europe, me being here in Japan, I've realized that wherever I go, there is usually a code to stropping compounds. In the US, it seems like the very fine stuff is usually white, but then I also saw some green stuff in Canada that was extremely fine. In Europe, I found very fine stuff from a very good tool supply that was pink, and the gray stuff was more coarse. In Canada, there was brown. So you see, it's very, very confusing. Although you find that on forums and platforms, people are talking about this color rouge, that color rouge, as if calling it the brown rouge obviously like automatically implies that it's rough. That is not the case. It's very confusing. Then there's of course different qualities. You can go to a hardware store and you find little polishing compounds with all of your little polishing kits and stuff. That's not as good of stuff as you get from a better tool supply. This is the simple way I can explain it to you right now from my own experience. Then of course we have different diamond pastes, and it can get very expensive, and it can get quite complicated. And I was a little bit tired of that because I actually tried to keep my toolkit rather simple. So what was the solution for that? A couple of years ago, I came across this polishing compound for automobile stuff. And here we go, folks. Autosol metal polish made in Germany. I have this tube probably for 4 years or something. And there's a lot of goodness still left in this. You really don't need a lot. What I find with this polishing compound is that it cuts very, very well and harsh, and at the same time it leaves a very fine polish. That's a little bit of a contradiction in itself, but this is also something that blew me away about it. When I used this first time, I was still using mediocre compounds that weren't really satisfying me at all. There was a coarse one and a very fine one, and I never really got to the result that I really wanted. Once I started using this stuff, I realized I really needed to be careful with how I used it, and using good technique stropping, because this stuff cuts so aggressively that it would nearly, like, it would round off my edge if I would just go over it like with a razor. Now, if you use this compound properly, it's leaving a very satin, fine polish on your blade with a razor sharp edge that literally splits hair if you pull hair across the edge. I've done that before. So my pro tip for today is, if you want one polishing compound that is easy to source and that is not very confusing with all the different properties you have to deal with, get yourself a tube of this stuff and try it out. Now, it's very likely that if you have an automobile supply in your town, they're gonna carry something like this. Because at the end of the day, I mean, this is a very famous one made in Germany, but at the end of the day, this is just some polish to polish up metal parts. It's good for removing rust. It's actually also that's also something I realized with this. This is a little bit hydrophobe, so it really kind of oils your blade. That's what it says here as well. Yeah, and I've used it for all kind of stuff. I mean, I've even polished copper and brass with this stuff for my knife making endeavors, where I use bolsters and other parts from brass, and it just cuts really aggressively and leaves an absolutely amazing polish. So, my pro tip for today is, if you want to get into stropping, what you should, if you want to keep your knives extremely sharp, get yourself a tube of auto sole and just try it out on a strop with rather thin leather on, so you don't convex anything. I personally always source this from Amazon because it's extremely easy for me, and wherever I am, I know I can get it from there. It's made in Germany, award-winning, whatever. So I would go with the original. If you don't know where to source it, down below there's a link to my Amazon shop for spoon crafters and bush carvers. It's kind of a starter shop where I put all the stuff that I personally use. I have a couple books there. Of course, the Swedish carving book, Spoon Book by Barn the Spoon. I have a ton of different axes that I recommend to start with. I have all the Mora knives there that I personally still use every day. Pro or beginner, it doesn't matter. Mora is your way to go for your first Sloyd knife. What else? A bunch of stuff. I have the lenses and the cameras there that I'm using for the videos. So whatever I think is of good quality on Amazon, is a good price, I put down below. I don't want to give you the whole YouTube rundown, how to support me. I think by now everybody knows how to support a channel that they usually use and that they like. So thanks for tuning in today. I hope this was useful for you folks. Let me know what else you want to know about, and I try to keep the Spoon Carving 101 videos, the technical part, and the pro tips coming. Thanks for the support. I hope you're fine wherever you are, folks, and I'm gonna see you next time. Cheers.